Hey folks, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Sarah and I'm with Wolfbite Fiberworks. And I am here today to help you get started on this project that I have written up in a free pattern called the Babysitter. And it's kind of a really cool super long scarf that is worked in Tunisian crochet, which is a technique of crochet that I really love. And I am super excited to get to show you how to do it today. I have a free pattern written up. If you would like to follow the link in the description box for that, you're welcome to follow along with that. That's going to have a list of all the materials that you'll need and everything that I used as well. And I am going to show you in a couple videos today how to get started with Tunisian crochet. The first video is going to be getting all your stitches on your hook, learning how to do Tunisian purl, which is kind of this cool bumpy stitch right here, and then switching over to the Tunisian knit stitch, which is what the bulk of this scarf is worked in. There's just a couple rows of Tunisian purl. And then in the next video I am going to show you how to switch color, because you can see there is a fair amount of color change in this scarf, and then also how to finish off. Okay, so we'll just be going over that really quickly just to make sure that you're on the right path as you start. For Tunisian crochet, it's a little bit different than normal crochet. It's still worked with a hook, but it's worked with one of these super long hooks that has plenty of room on it to keep all of our stitches on, because all of our stitches are worked at the same time in Tunisian crochet. The other big difference between Tunisian crochet and normal crochet is in Tunisian we don't flip our work, so we will not be flipping. We're going to be working straight across a row for the first part, and then the second part is working back that row to close off our stitches. Okay, so every Tunisian row has kind of two parts to it. Okay, and we'll go over that. So go ahead and grab the stuff you'll need. Like I said, you can find a link to all of the materials that I used in the description box, but just kind of generally speaking, you will need yarn. I am working with worsted weight today, and a Tunisian hook. I'm using an 8mm, which is kind of a big hook for this type of yarn, but I'm doing that because as we work you'll see that Tunisian crochet kind of has a tendency to want to curl on you, and the larger hook kind of helps combat that a little bit and gives it kind of a nicer drape too. So it's a little bit easier to work with. It keeps things nice and loose. That's another reason why I like to have that one row of Tunisian purl too. It kind of gives that Tunisian knit stitch a nice edge that helps keep that purl to a minimum. And also it's just kind of a generally good idea to keep your tension loose. If you're a really tight crocheter, you might need to kind of loosen up or maybe use a bigger hook even still, okay? So for this project, I have gone ahead and I have chained 22. The panels that I am making for this project are about 8 inches wide by about 4 inches tall. Okay, the first panel that you're going to be making and the last panel that you're making, if you're doing the babysitter scarf, they're going to be a little bit longer to account for that cast on row and the purl row, and then the purl row and the cast off row for that last panel. So they're just a little bit longer, but generally speaking 8 by 4 is a good width. If you want to make it look exactly like mine, if you want to do your own thing, you're welcome to do that too. You can go wider, smaller, single color, whatever. The choices are pretty much endless. All right, so for this one, go ahead and chain 22. And once you have that done, we're going to be working on casting on our stitches. So just kind of that first setup to get all of your stitches on your hook. And to do that, we want to pull up a loop in each one of the chain stitches. So your first loop that's on your hook is always your first stitch in Tunisian crochet. So go on over to your second chain stitch and insert there and pull up a loop. And then your third chain stitch, insert, pull up a loop. Fourth one, insert, pull up a loop, and just keep doing that all the way down. Okay, and this is more or less the idea that we're going to be working with all the way through. Pulling up loops in the first pass and then closing them on the second pass. And just like with every other crochet, at least with me, that first row after you do your chain stitch is such a pain. but it's going to get much easier as we go, and I think you'll find that this crochet technique actually moves pretty quickly once you get the hang of it. Okay, and the good thing about Tunisian crochet with the hooks, if you start to kind of get crowded up here, you can start to move these loops back down your hook and get them out of your way, so you have a little bit more working space. I tend to work with a lot of mine right up close to the hook, but it's however is comfortable for you. Okay, and I have 2 chain stitches left, so I'm going to pull up loops in those. Okay, so that was our kind of cast on row there. Those are all of our stitches, and we should have 22 loops to go with 22 chains, and keep that all the way through. 22 is the number that we're going for. Okay, so that was our first pass. So our return pass, we're going to be yarning over, and the first thing you want to do is just pull that yarn over through 1 loop. And by doing that, we are actually creating a chain stitch right here for our next row, just like we would with regular crochet. Now for every other one after that, you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops that are on your chain or on your hook there. So yarn over and pull through 2 of those loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 of those loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2. And do that all the way down until you have 1 loop left on your hook. Just take a break here and show you what we have so far. We're creating kind of a series of vertical bars there, if you can see them, and that's good. That's what we want. That's where we're going to be working our stitches going forward. So yarn over and just keep pulling through 2 until you get back. And this is the return pass. Okay, and I am getting close to the end here, and I have 1 loop left on my hook. Alright, so there is kind of our first row of Tunisian crochet, and these vertical bars are what we're going to be kind of interested in as we move forward. If you look at the part facing you, remember we're not flipping our work, so it's always going to be this side facing you. You're going to see the vertical bars. There's another one in the back, and it'll be easier to see as we go along kind of further away from that chain. But both of those vertical bars are going to be important as we go forward, okay? So I'll refer to this as the front facing vertical bar, and this is the back facing vertical bar when we get there, okay? Alright, so remember I said our second row of crochet is going to be the Tunisian purl stitch. And to work the Tunisian purl stitch, we kind of have to take a look at what we're working with here. Remember that first loop is always going to be your first stitch, and the vertical bars that are underneath it belong to it. So we're not going to insert our hook anywhere in these vertical bars. We're going to look for the second set, which is right there. Okay, so the Tunisian purl stitch, what makes it special is that the yarn that we're working with, the working yarn, is always going to be in front of the project, in front of the hook. And to make your stitch, insert your hook underneath that front facing bar there, and then yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, let's look at the next one. So there's our set of vertical bars, and there's the front facing one. I'm going to put that yarn in front of my hook and then insert my hook under that front facing vertical bar, grab it, and pull up a loop. Okay, so there's our next set. Same thing, yarn in front of the hook, insert under that front facing vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. The important thing to remember is to have your yarn in front of your hook before you insert it underneath that bar. Okay, again, we're going underneath that vertical bar with our yarn in front, and then you can yarn over and pull up a loop. So let's take a look at what we've got on our hook so far. You can see it's already starting to form these little bumps right here, and that's good. That's the purl bump. If you were to do this whole project in this stitch, which you totally can, it's going to start to mimic the look of the garter stitch in knit. Okay, so just keep doing that across the row. Work that purl stitch under each one of those vertical bars until you get to kind of the next to last stitch. And then that one can be kind of tricky to see if you've never done this before. And I will show you, we'll work on that one together. So I'm just going under each one of my front facing bars only. I'm not messing with that back facing bar yet. We'll do that when we transition over to the knit stitch in the next row. Just insert under that front facing bar and pull up a loop. So I've gone through 2, so I'm going to pick that one out and just kind of straighten it up. Okay, I'm getting close to the end here. I have one more set of vertical bars there, right there, and then that chain stitch that we have to work a stitch into. So let me do this vertical bar first. Okay, now I'm down here to the end where I've done my chain stitch. So to do your last stitch on your row for your Tunisian crochet, even with the purl stitch, you can go ahead and let that yarn fall to the back. It won't matter so much for the end. And then you want to insert it under that chain stitch, your hook right underneath that chain stitch, so that you have the 2 vertical bars on the outside there. And then just yarn over and pull through that. Okay, so you can spread out your stitches again, and you can see they're all on the hook at once. And for the return pass, it's the same as last time. Just yarn over and pull through 1. That's our chain stitch for the next row. And then go ahead and yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Do that all the way down until you get to 1 loop left on your hook. And then after we finish this row, we're going to move on to the Tunisian knit stitch, which is super fun. Okay, I'm getting close here. I'm back down to 1 loop on my hook. Alright, so we'll lay it out and see what we got so far. There you can see the bumps, the purl bumps all the way across. That's what we were looking for on that side. So you don't have to worry about that Tunisian purl row. If you're making the babysitter scarf, you don't have to worry about that until you get all the way down to the other end, and you'll do it one more time. What you're going to have to kind of get your mind around now is the Tunisian knit stitch. This is the stitch that you're going to be working in for pretty much the rest of the project, okay? So once again, there is that loop that's on your hook. That is your first stitch, and those vertical bars underneath it belong to it, so don't insert your hook there. Look across and find your vertical bars on the front. Flip it over, you can see where they are in the back. It's a lot easier to see now, isn't it? That we have added a little bit of length to it. So the thing that makes the Tunisian knit stitch work is where we put our hook in relation to these vertical bars. What you want to do is kind of insert your hook in between your front facing vertical bar and your back facing vertical bar. So find your second set of bars there. Right there is your front facing one. There is the back facing one. And see that split down the middle there? That's where we're putting our hook. Right in there, kind of diagonally, straight out the back. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, so for the next one, same thing. There's our front facing vertical bar. Here is our back facing vertical bar. We're going in between them, kind of diagonally out the back, yarn over and pull up a loop. Here's another one. There's our front bar. There's our back bar. There's the split down the middle. That's where the hook goes. Diagonally out the back, pull up a loop. And do that for all of them, all the way down. Okay. Once you get the hang of this, it'll start to go really, really quickly. I'll take a break here and show you what we got so far. Not much to look at right yet, but in another couple rows you will start to see a pattern emerge. Okay, so I'm just going to keep working down this row just like I did last time. Until I get down to where we had put that chain stitch, kind of that area that's a little bit tricky to see. Alright, there's my last set of vertical bars, and here's my chain stitch. So just like I did before, I'm going to insert my hook right underneath that chain stitch so that both those loops are on the outside there. And then I'm going to grab my yarn over and pull up a loop right there. Okay? Alright, so working back, same as before, yarn over and pull through just one to begin with, and then yarn over and pull through two. Yarn over and pull through two loops. Yarn over and pull through two loops. Yarn over, pull through two loops. This is our return pass. Same each time. Okay, so we're getting down to kind of back to the beginning for our next row. We'll work another row of Tunisian knit together so that you can see the pattern start to emerge. Right now it doesn't look like much, but it will pretty quickly. Okay, so once again, there's our first stitch. The vertical bars right below it belong to it, so move on over to the second set. There's our front facing bar. There's our back facing bar. And right there where my finger's poking out is the split down the middle. Insert there. Pull up a loop. Okay. There's the next one. And then here's the third one. There's the front facing bar. There's the back facing bar. There's the middle. Insert diagonally to the back and pull up a loop. Here's the next one. There are our bars. There's the split in the middle. Insert diagonally to the back, yarn over and pull up a loop. Insert diagonally into the back, pull up a loop. Okay, work that all the way across. Again, this is pretty much going to be your pattern that you're going to be following until you get to the very end of the scarf. Okay, and now I'm back at my chain stitch, so I'm going to insert under those two bars right there, yarn over and pull up a loop, and spread it back out, and yarn over and pull through one. There's our chain stitch for the next row. Yarn over and pull through two. Yarn over and pull through two. Keep doing that all the way down again. And once you got the hang of this, you pretty much have the hang of the rest of the scarf. It's pretty straightforward. We're almost back. And I have one loop left. Alright, so let's take a look here, see what we got. Can you already start to see the V's forming? Right there and right there. And can you also start to see how it wants to curl? So Tunisian knit stitch really does push a whole bunch of fabric to the back of the piece, and that's what causes that curl. But like I said, just keep going, and it'll be less noticeable as you go. Okay, so let me just do real quickly kind of one more row of Tunisian knit, just so we can really see that pattern start to emerge. And then I'm going to take a break, and we'll be back in another video to show you how to change colors and finish up. So I'm doing this quickly, but it's the same thing that we did before. I'm just finding that split between the bars and inserting my hook diagonally between them into the back and pulling up a loop. And then I get down to this chain stitch. Okay. And just quickly return pass, yarn over and pull through one, yarn over and pull through two loops, two loops, two, keep going. You can really see that curl. Don't be discouraged by that. Keep going. If you've never done this before, trust me, this happens no matter how many times you do it in the future. You can become the best at this and it's still going to curl on you, okay? So just keep going. Okay, now I'm getting back down to the end and I'm going to stop right here because in my next video I'm going to show you how to change colors, and to do that I want 2 loops on my hook, okay? So let's just leave it there for now. Normally we'd go down to 1, but for color changes we want to leave 2. And now you can really see that pattern starting to emerge, right? Alright, so I'm going to link to the next video in the description box, and I will see you over there shortly. Thanks!